Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Euro Trade. My name is Deeyana Angelo, better known as Market Stalker D. I've been trading for about 18 years, 13 years out of which I've been trading futures as a prop trader for various prop firms back in the day when remote prop firms were not a thing, right? So I actually had to go into the office, but these days a lot of us are working remotely, and that is absolutely awesome. All right, let me just do the full screen here before Bruno gets mad at me. I am a Series 3 qualified trader. However, since I'm not a CTA, anything that you see here is for educational purposes only. Bruno has already posted a risk disclosure. Yes, Bruno, yes, I know, full screen not up yet. It is up now. All right, so we have the Euroclass Combine here. I've decided I'm only going to be trading this during this Euro trade. So here is how we're doing right now. So not too bad. Profit factor, keeping it at 1.8. Trade win is actually higher than I normally have. So yeah, let's just keep this going. This combine actually didn't start that well, so you can see that I've had a couple of losing days in the second week, so that's already on day 3. But keeping those losses really contained is what will keep you in the game for a long time. I know that we've just sent out this whole free reset email, but one thing that I really like seeing from my VIP team is that a lot of them actually said, hey, I actually don't need this because it's like, thank you, but I'm not going to use it because I have not needed it. I've managed to stay in combines for 2 months and, things like that. It really shows growth for those who have taken action based on what all of us VIP coaches have been talking about in the VIP experience. And it just goes to show that there is a maturity that goes through. It's absolutely amazing to see. More than any kind of big P&L day, what I really love seeing is the fact that they are just like saying things like, oh, this was the old me. This was the old me. Old me would take the reset in full port and try to pass in 2 days. So let's talk about a couple of things before we get into the actual trading. So first of all, I know that everybody is aiming to get the $200 for the payouts when you are in a funded account. But here's the thing. Just like passing in 2 days is, yes, it's a possibility. You can pass in 2 days. Should you? Probably not if you've never gotten funded and stayed funded. And likewise, if you've gotten 5 days of 200, that doesn't mean that you're eligible for a payout, but should you be taking a payout at that point when, let's say that you're in a 150K account, you've had 5 days, so now you're sitting in $1,000 buffer. Taking half off is going to mean that you now have 500, because as soon as you take that payout, your maximum trading drawdown will go to 0. So again, there is a bankroll management to consider, and to me, the $200 in profits is just like the bare minimum. I usually aim to have a lot more before I take a payout. So, I would aim to get, a few days of 500, Or, if I have one bumper day, let's say I have $1,800 in one day, then I have 700 in the second day. Then, the third day I might have, let's say 500, and then I have another bumper day. So after you've done that, you can take the payout. But even then, unless I've doubled the initial maximum trailing drawdown, so let's say in a 50K combine, that is 2,000. So unless there's like over 4 grand in that account, I won't take a payout. I will wait until that is over the double amount, and then I will take 30% of payout. Okay, 30%, not 50. So again, just because you can take 50, it doesn't mean that you should. Please consider all of this when you are managing your payouts and your combines. So just because it is there as an option, it doesn't mean that it is the right time to do so. All right. Anyway, Jerome is here. All right, so Jerome, tomorrow we are going to do the Neuro Wednesday, and I am going to do that through another streaming platform, since we had some audio issues. So we're going to see whether that can sort it out. I am learning to use vMix, which is what the main broadcast uses, but that's going to take time. It is, a steep learning curve. And although I used to be a sound engineer, I think it's still going to take me a month or two to get my head around vMix, and I'm not going to rush. So Gabe from Topstep has actually kindly said that he's going to help me with it as well, so that's pretty awesome. But until then, I am going to use Streamlabs to see if we can have zero audio issues, because at the moment, the way I'm bringing in guests, it doesn't really allow me too much control, and I have no idea what's going on with the output and input, because there's just very, very little control. So I'm going to work on that side of technical issues, and it's something that comes with this line of work. Now, what do we have on copper? So I have copper and I have natural gas. These two have been my babies over the last sort of 2 months or so. Now, copper, there is put support level around 462. There is also the value area high for the London session. What does that mean? It means that there are a couple of possibilities here. If we get some buyers stepping in and we are not able to close back inside value, I'm probably going to be looking at longs. We extended the initial bounce to the downside. Having said that, the initial bounce size is not absolutely massive, but it's not exactly tiny either. So a couple of things can happen here. We're either going to have a huge trending day to the downside if we manage to accept value. So if I take that we've rejected the X1, if we've gone under put support, the logical thing would be to look for further downside, because copper is very directional and I don't necessarily want to fight that. Now, that second choice is to go along with the uptrend that we've been seeing in copper and to actually try and look for the price to hold above the London value high. Like I said, if that doesn't happen, then I default to the second hypo, which is going to be a short, and then see whether we can get a nice push down. On natural gas, if I compress this a little bit, you will see we're opening below the value area. Here's the value area at 345.3 roughly. We're very, very far below it. Now, natural gas does this thing where it has one direction for London, and then once NYMEX kicks off, it tends to turn around within the next sort of hour or so, and it goes completely nuts the opposite way. So I'm going to be very mindful of that as we kind of go into the rest of the day. My Cavalier is woken up and he's a bit confused. What's going on, dude? Good morning. And so you'll hear nails clicking because he needs a nail trim. But yeah. So natural gas opening very, very far. There is scope for a mean reversion upside always. Right now, as it stands, one of the orientation points that I also have is VWAP. So we are below VWAP. If we manage to start going higher, that would probably put me on the long side. Why do I have two domes that are on the same thing? So let's change that. But for now, again, looking a little bit short still. So I'm going to give it a little bit of time to, develop and to have a little bit more data happening. I can see that my sister is in the chat. So if you're wondering who this crochet knit yarn whip person is, it's my sister. She's not a trader. She actually has her own business and she's a very, very talented crocheter. But yeah, here she is, and I see Jerome is saying hello. Joe Moley says, I blew 4 accounts, I will reset all of them. That's really up to you, Joe, but if you blew 4 accounts, I would highly suggest that you just work on one until that's sorted out, because blowing accounts left, right, and center does nothing but increase your upfront costs. We have to be risk managers, and if you're not very good with your own money, I would be very suspicious of how you're going to manage your accounts in the correct way. There's no longevity there. So please reconsider just kind of full porting 4 combines, hoping for the best, and then resetting like a lunatic, and then hoping that somehow magically you're suddenly going to have longevity in this business, okay? So just focus on one. Don't increase your costs. Don't trade with dollars in your eyes. Focus on the process. I mean, blah-de-blah, right? We've been talking about this forever. And at this point, I can turn myself into a parrot and just go, size down, slow down, size down, slow down. Because that is the big secret, right? Sizing down will enable you to pinpoint the mistakes and to actually get proof of concept. Like, does this work without me trading with 10 lots and getting lucky on a couple of trades? And I'm talking about this from the side of things of looking at the stats in the VIP, who across the board had scalpery tendencies, but with very low accuracies and a negative risk reward. That doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing for a scalper, but couple that with the low accuracy, and that is never gonna work. So when you go down to like 1 or 2 micros, and you see what the hell you're actually doing, it exposes some really big issues with the approach or with some mental triggers that you have. It doesn't even have to be your system. It could be that, you're just not really relying on non-optimized side of things to make things work. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you trade with big size and then you're constantly martingaling, so you lose one, then you size up, and then you win that next one, but that one had a lower risk reward, however, because of the size, it brought you back into positive. That is a huge issue. That means you've over-optimized, and now you're thinking I'm the wizard, when in reality, if you remove the over-optimizations on the size, you will have a pretty sobering moment where you realize that whatever you're doing has a negative expectancy. And if you have negative expectancy, that's never going to work in any funded accounts. I'm constantly amazed at the level of emotional trading where they're like, oh, I'll take a few ticks. I'll just take a few ticks. But without blinking an eye, they will take full -1 hour or more, right? So their losses are bigger, but for some reason they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to take a few points. That does absolutely nothing for your system. That is emotional trading. So we want to stick away from that. We want to throw it all out. We want to go and do exercise before you trade. And then you want to go down to the low. I know, not fun, right? Not fun trading with 1 micro. Boo-hoo. I can't full port and call myself the king of trading, queen of trading, because I'm not using size. But there will be time for size. Everybody wants to go from 0 to hero without, you want to learn how to run and be an Olympic medalist, but you haven't learned to walk yet. That's effectively what you're doing. Bruno also says, reducing the number of trades worked for me. So there you go. If you're somebody who trades a lot, and a lot really, I would say anyone who trades anything over six trades per day on the same product, okay? If you're somebody who's advanced, this is not for you. I'm not talking to you. You probably already know what you're doing. It's for people who have been trading for about 2 or 3 years and they don't have a defined system and they keep going through combines like they're going out of fashion and never staying in the exit phase longer than 1 week. For some of you, longer than a day. Like, never mind a week. A week is like, half an age. Like, wow, and some of us are able to stay in funded accounts for an extended period of time. We don't do that by full porting. We don't do that by not managing our bankroll properly. We literally do it with sustainable trading practices, and that's what we all are trying to teach. Now, it's nice when we see somebody making an absolute crazy amount of money in one day. That's exciting, right? But there are stepping stones to that. And I also personally, unless I've caught like some outlier trending move and I decided to see where it goes, even though that is not really how I trade, I always have a target. It's very unlikely that you will ever see me make ridiculous amounts of cash in a single day. Why? Because I think that's also not very conducive to staying consistent and actually not having that dopamine rush hit you like a ton of bricks and you being effectively high on hopium and trying to replicate that on the rest of the days that are not going to be outlier days. Now, in the last 2-3 weeks, we've had a lot of outlier days. So we probably have some people who are super high on hopium. And now we've got to go through rehab. They try to make me go to rehab. So yeah, because of the dopamine rush that people experience, they're trying to chase that. So you're not chasing profits. You're not chasing process. You're now just chasing money. And I know it sounds counterintuitive to say that, focusing on money is what's going to get you in this line of work, but it really is true. There are many things that are contradictory in trading that people find very hard to get a grip with. One of them is small base hits on small size will make you get there faster than big lots straight off the bat, right? Why? Because small base hits means that you can control your emotions. It's all about emotions. Yeah, pesky emotions, right? But it's true. If you're just all over the place and you're trading with size and you're not focusing on the process, you don't have a well-defined process, it means that your swings are going to be all over the place. So one day you might be up, $4,000. The next day you're going to be down $3,000. Then the following day you might be up like $2,000, or you might get scared, so suddenly you lower size and then you're only making $400 or $500. That's all emotional. That's all emotional. Bruno says, I understand how hard it is to size down and not overtrade, but yeah, I'm just looking at the trade reports, and you're keeping your downside very, very controlled, and your big days are bigger than the losing days for the most part. That's what you want to see, right? That's what's going to keep you in the game. And I love seeing, so let me, Bruno, do you mind if I show this to everyone? Let me know. If you mind, it's okay. I'm, obviously not going to do it. But yeah, it would be just nice to show what that looks like. Don't want to put you on the spot, mate. So if you're uncomfortable, I'm not going to show it. So let me know. No problem. Okay, so let's do this. Let me just grab Discord. All right, so sizing down, and just carrying to validate your process, right? You're validating process at this point. You're not even going, oh yeah, I'm just, I'm just messing around. No, you're like, right, I'm controlling my downside. And that's exactly what we see here, right? All of the days are tiny, right? Losing days are tiny. That's what you want to see. Size down, slow down. And eventually the math over time, so not tomorrow, not today, but over time will start showing up. I know it's difficult. I know that everybody has blinkers on. Everybody wants to do everything in one day and, continue that. But that's not the reality. Trading is probably one of the toughest things that you will ever do. Let me see. CI says, good morning, Dee. Can you analyze a trade I did yesterday on Platinum that didn't work? 5-minute charts. All right, let's have a look. That would be a good exercise, right? Analyzing an actual trade. So I'm just going to go to Platinum on my other platform so I can see what conditions we actually had. I didn't see anything much in Platinum yesterday, but let's see. So waited on 7:05 EST candle. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's midday for me. Okay. So that was somewhere around here. And then let's put some markers down. So 7:05 for a possible long back to 963. Okay, 963. So first thing I would say is that you had a neutral day type at that point. So let me see. So what was your what was your entry? What was your entry? But let's assume that it was somewhere 705, okay. So I don't know what, like, you know, whenever we're talking trade recaps, guys and girls, entry prices with your stops is what we want to see, because, you know, I don't have like a, you know, I feel that you went, and it's like, you know, the more detail, the better. I don't know, you know, where you went in. But yeah, let's say you were long somewhere from this candle. So the problem there is if I go back to yesterday using my other platform, just because it has, so this is the candle we're talking about. But if I go back, at that point, first of all, we had a failed auction, so you're going against that. Second of all, when this 30-minute candle post 12 o'clock happened, it creates a neutral day type. At that point, the best that you will be able to do is to maybe just fish the middle. So the entry would have needed to be somewhere from this initial balance low and then up to the nearest middle point, which in this case, you know, you could have used VWAP as a target, you could have used POC, you could have used this 9 EMA that we had at the time. So whatever you were using, this would have been a neutral day fade trade, not some kind of a swing. If you have a neutral day and you're getting involved in the middle, that's the worst possible thing to get involved with. Trade location sucks, right? Why? Because you have all of this volume that is built up. I don't know whether you were here tomorrow. I was comparing range-bound days with traffic jams. And, you know, you wouldn't drive in fifth gear and try to go, like, really, really fast if there's a gridlock. Like, you would get nowhere. And that's kind of what I feel you did here. If you were fishing for any sort of longs, I would have asked for the market to go nearer this ASR rather than being in the middle, just to get away from that distribution curve and to actually make sure your trade location is on point, right? If you don't have that, that's a huge problem. And I mean, okay, surprise, surprise, here we are. So that was the former ASR. What's the time? So the time, here is the COMEX open. They immediately stopped pushing, but, you know, 950, which I believe also had some, I think it had a bit of an options level there yesterday. Can't quite remember, but 950, round number, away from the distribution curve and the former average session range low for London, would have been a better choice. It would have been a better choice. And then you would be in a much stronger trade location to run anything, to run, you know, a trade up to the middle, or even to run it for full rotation, right? Now, for the COMEX session, we actually extended the initial balance to one side, then touched ballpark initial balance and VWAP. Now, when this auction failed, this was a bit of an outlier on the candle size. So you saw me yesterday run that copper trade where it was going up and then it did the same thing. It kind of shook out the weak longs, touched the initial balance high via a pretty big or bigger outlier candle, and then I sniped it. That was the trade that I took, right? So this is the exact same setup, right? You extend to one side doing COMEX. But yeah, sure, if you were watching it through the London session, I also had another orientation point here. So I had 950 as the former London average session range low. And then if I had missed that, let's say I went to do a dog walk or something, there's always the next trade. If you defined your setups pretty well, you will almost always have a way to get back in on the trending move. And really this stayed pretty much range bound. And here is the time component where this is euro close as well in and around this time. So euro close reversal, and it just keeps going into into the end of the day, right? So yeah, just be careful. If you have a neutral day and you're getting involved in the middle of the middle, that can really decimate whatever you're doing. So this is where flawed approach, because time of day doesn't match, or you are getting involved in the middle of the middle without realizing it. This is where learning about distribution curves, day types, neutral day type never really conducive to continuation moves, and you might get a rotation. However, it's going to be very painful, because that traffic jam is going to prevent you from getting nice smooth moves through it. It's going to be we go like half a meter, then we stop. No one's moving. Then we go down. Like in the traffic jam, you don't really go down back the other way, but sometimes you might, because I don't know, something's happened. Some people, maybe this road works or something, and they want you to move. So you move backwards. But that's basically, a basic analogy of what is going on during a neutral day. So I would say trade location got you there, CI. But yeah. So I would say, yeah, you missed getting involved in the middle of the middle. So yeah. Aaron trades. Hey, Aaron's in the house. Hopefully you guys have been joining Aaron. He starts streaming at 1 a.m. Central, which is 7 a.m. London time. And he has taken over the London Open. So we're calling London Open. And this is more of a Euro session. So do make sure to check out Aaron. He breaks things down very nicely. He trades very clean. What is happening with my Discord here? So yeah, don't miss the London Open with Aaron. Now, my show, just wanted to point this out immediately. My show was always at the same time, right? It's always 90 minutes into the Euro session. And to be perfectly frank, no one really asked me what we were going to call my session. And suddenly they just named it the London Open. And I was like, I thought I told you that I don't trade the London Open because, I want the initial balance to be smacked before I enter a trade. And they're like, oh, okay, well, let's just keep this going. So there's like a lot of confusion. It's like, when is the London Open? What is happening? So now we've kind of corrected that. And we do have Aaron who runs the true London Open. It is more within his time frame as well. I believe Aaron is located in Australia. So for me, I'm not much of an early riser, and even this is a little bit early for my brain to kind of digest and stuff. However, I do naturally wake up around, 8:30, 9 a.m. I don't like doing trades as soon as I get up because that never ends well. My brain isn't able to digest complex pieces of information just yet. So yeah, we now have more programming and more to come as well. This is not going to be the only thing. We are aiming to be the network that trades and broadcasts like 24/7, really, or 23/7. So yeah, we're going to be adding more stuff. But yeah, that was the confusion. So many people are like, oh, where's Market Stoker D? Like, what's happening? D, are you gone? And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere, guys and girls. I'm still here. We've just named the shows slightly differently to reflect the true time when those segments are actually happening. So here we are, Euro trade. That's what we're trading right now. And Aaron says, stack up your consistent wins over trying to hit the jackpot every time. Consistency is the key. Absolutely. Firmament says, good morning, Dee. Admitted I haven't been a regular, but this is as far as I can recall the first time I've seen the dome and tape on your charts. Dude, I've had the dome like forever. It's never been not on my charts. I think on my own channel, I showed bookmap as well many times. And maybe I didn't always have the dome on there because many people found it a little bit confusing. At the time, I think I had a lot of people coming from Forex, and I felt that if I push all of the things that I look at, in their faces immediately, they would be a little bit scared. But the dome has been a part of my trading since I started in prop in 2013. And you say you haven't been a regular. I always have the dome, so I don't know what you're looking at. So since I've been on Topstep for almost 2 years now, the dome is always a part of my trading. So I don't know what you're looking at. Are you maybe confusing me with somebody else? Because order flow, like I said, order flow trading is a huge part of what I do. So, like I've been doing dome trading since literally 2013. So a long time, 12 years. Firmament also says canine indicator flashing green. Yeah. Okay, let's see. We have somebody talking in a foreign language. I do not know what that means. Please speak English. Is this Polish or something? I don't know. Okay. 7 a.m. here in Spain. Jerome D says Aaron is amazing. I agree. Very, very good. Yeah. Have you done levels for GC? I'll be honest, I find GC a little bit tricky these days. Primarily because the candles on a 30-minute have gotten absolutely bonkers. I mean, bonkers, right? They are just, on most days, they're like 120 ticks wide. And I based my day types and stuff off of the 30-minute TPL. And it's like, how do you limit risk here? I would have to trade absolute peanuts and even that would be a lot of risk, right? If I have to put a trade on that's going to have the power to absorb a candle that's like 173 ticks wide, I would like to trade something slightly less crazy. You know, I'm not opposed to widening stops at all. Like, you know, if the volatility calls for it, that's fine. But I've seen gold do this really weird thing where it will do a range bound day by 170, 180 ticks, 30-minute candle width, but then it doesn't have a follow through. You know, it's like, oh, that's the candle, and then we just get stuck in a range day. Range bound markets, I will be honest, are still not my forte. Like, I've gotten much, much better to the point where over the last 7-8 years, if you watch me do a range bound day, you're thinking, oh, that's all I do. But I don't like it. It's a personal preference. I want to trade markets that have the smoothness. And what do I mean by smoothness? Well, if you have a look at this copper trade, it just, you know, does a reversal and then has follow through. Same thing with natural gas, right? If we go to see the trade that I took yesterday on it, gives you a signal, reversal, follow through, a little bit of a slow down, speed bump, follow through. So those are the kind of markets that are very tasty for me, and that's what I want to see. You know, if I have to, excuse my French, dick around with range bound days, there's nothing that irks me more, and it seeps my mental capital to the point that I'm like, is this really worth it? You know, when I can get literally like 300, 400, 500 ticks out of one move nowadays, when we have this wonderful volatility that I've been really enjoying. Do I need to mess around with, you know, taking tiny little trades because that's the only thing that's available? I personally don't like doing it. You know, I'm a huge proponent of time versus money. And if I have to spend 4 hours waiting for a tiny bit of trade, that's not really that great for me at this point in my career, 18 years on, right? So I do look for very specific market conditions, and I do look to effectively find products that will be, you know, conducive to a bigger move. So, you know, it's about trade location. It is about how that particular product is moving at the moment. All right, so I'm seeing that we're having some trouble in copper breaking back into the initial balance. Now, I am going to put a marker here just to delineate where the initial balance was. So here it is. This is what the initial balance is. Now, as you can see, we tried to go back into it and sort of stopped right at initial balance low. We're still in trouble of rejecting the value high. And if that happens, I'm perfectly okay with taking a hit on that. At the moment, the average ranges are telling me that maybe a 50 tick stop is still in order. So I am going to just put 3 micros on here and do a 50 tick stop. Now, one thing that I have seen copper do is to whip back up to the VWAP and then start to reject. Again, if that happens and I'm talking, perfectly fine to take the hit on that, all right? I have no issues doing that. All right. So let's see how this goes and whether it has some sort of merit with the hypo. It doesn't mean that I won't be wrong, but, you know, this is what my analysis says. And I want to make sure that I'm following my plan. So the first plan is to look for shorts with the extension of the initial balance. That is step 1. Step 1. Okay, what are we doing here? I'm just doing a similar trade. Well, actually, it's the same trade on my private account. That's a little bit bigger because it's a bigger account. So we are on minis there. We're on minis. All right. But over here, to reflect the size of the bankroll that we currently have, we have to do micros. And at the moment, we have enough buffer to risk $187.50 on this move. That's not going to derail anything. And because I'm making a decision to only trade this combine during the Euro class, I'm going to have to kill this at the end. So regardless of whether I get 2R or not, it's going to be killed. It's going to be killed at the end of the stream. All right. So what am I looking at for targets? I'm looking at full rotation into the hypo, which is the value acceptance trade. So that means first point of orientation is that we bleed below the London value high and close the 30-minute candle inside of it. I am front running this based on the extension of the initial balance, some put support that we have here that we haven't been able to go over, the fact that we're under VWAP, blah, 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 blah. You've heard me talk about this many times, but what is the natural target of the value acceptance special situation play? It's the other side of value, right? So that's the only thing that I'm looking for here. It is just over 2-to-1 as a natural risk reward. And like I said, if we don't get the move that I'm looking for, if the market gives me a chance, I will bail early, okay? So I won't wait. Again, sometimes copper can move very quickly, so it doesn't give me the time to react, which is why I always have a hard stop. But look at this as a disaster stop. So I typically, if something's not going well, I will bail early. For now, there's a bit of a decision point, and they are struggling, so let's just sit and wait to see how they want to play this. So it's not about guessing. I mean, I suppose it's an educated guess, but it's not about not being wrong. It's about managing yourself and the position to not lose as much if you are wrong, if that makes sense. All right. D, where am I finding GEX levels? I use a company called Mentor Q. They are a company that digests the option chain and then spews it as a line on the chart. So every morning I go to their Discord query bot and I drag out a string which I then put into, I actually have a TradingView desktop platform on that screen. And I put the levels in there, even though they have a whole bunch of support for Bookmap, for Ninja, for, I think they even have like Quantower and MetaTrader and everything, but I don't want to clutter up some of my charts where I'm looking at one set of data. So I like to have, because, you know, let's face it, with the option matrices, you would have to have a different screen anyway. And I'm just kind of looking at it from that point of view. It is a bit of a more complex way of looking at the markets, because any GEX level and sort of puts and calls and stuff, they can act as a line in the sand. They can be stopping points, but they can also be accelerators as well. And the real trick, because I see some people in their Discord going, well, this is just kind of wagging through the prices, so like what is it supposed to be doing? And I'm like, you're supposed to use it as orientation points. If your skills don't allow that to happen yet, because you're like assuming one thing and you don't have the flexible bias, and you're constantly assuming that same thing, and you're not giving up even when the level is clearly breaking and the market makers are adjusting inventory through that level, that's really not a problem of the company that's just giving you data, right? It's a problem between the keyboard and chair, right? PVK C error, as it's known. Out of Office Forever says, what's up, D? Haven't been able to catch this session, but I've talked to you on IG top class. Okay. You talked to me on IG. Was that recently? Because I don't remember talking to anyone on IG in the last few months. Just make sure it is me, because this kind of thing, I'm always, like, I don't, yeah. When was this? Let's start with that. There are a couple of impersonators on there. So there is somebody, I talked about this before, somebody who is my impersonator, and they actually went to follow my husband on from like Instagram, obviously not knowing that he's all right. That does ring a bell, actually. CPT Chronic. But it wasn't recently. Yeah, 4 months ago. There we go. Okay, yes, so it was me. Yeah, I do remember you now. I was sick. I'm still sick. So that's like a normal thing for me. It was me. Yeah, definitely me. Yeah, if anyone tries to sell you anything crypto, that's not me. It's just put it that way. But if I'm moaning about having to take a lot of meds and not feeling well that day, yeah, that's probably me. Hooked up to an oxygen machine and going, what is my life? Yeah, that's me. I see Firmament is having a bit of a laugh here. D, threw my life savings into your crypto token. Thanks for messaging me on IG. Please don't. Like, I've literally had people doing that. Like, there's this one girl who messaged me and they're like, hey, I haven't received the money this month. And I'm like, for what? She goes, you mean this is not you? And then there's like this very elaborate website. It's like, anyways, be safe out there, right? Be safe. Out of Office Forever says, now I'm past the solicitation phase. Excellent. That's what we want to hear. Nata Animates. Deeyana, why don't you trade ES or NQ? Because they annoy the hell out of me. I'm not an equities trader by design. I do trade DAX, which I kind of find that it moves more like copper or natural gas, like more like a commodity. I don't know why. It's maybe Germans. They're quite efficient and they don't like when the markets are psychotic. So we want to keep them efficient. That was a terrible German accent. I do apologize to the Germans in the house. But yeah, Germans as a nation, right? They're very tidy, very efficient. And I think their DAX index actually reflects that. Let's start it again. I think their index reflects that. It's too early for complex words. Yeah, I don't know why, but I find that ES and NQ are like, especially now, like ES is a little bit calmer, but NQ to me is borderline personality, right? somebody who's a manic depressive, if you look at the intra candle, especially during the regular trading hours on NQ, it's literally, literally looks like it's having a seizure all the time. That to me, gives me a headache after a while. And recently I've been looking at ES and it does exactly the same thing. So the volatility has made it more psychotic, which it never used to be. I would think that YM is pretty smooth, but obviously YM, some people they have a very huge dislike for YM. I don't know why. I think it's a great product, but I suppose it's the types of companies that are in there. However, I would like to believe that because of the types of companies that are in there, and it being called the Boomer Index by Jack and Nick Fortick and stuff, I would think that this is why it might move a little smoother than some other equities. So out of all of the equities, if I have to trade something equities related, it would be DAX, YM, sometimes ES, but they're not my core markets. I prefer to trade commodities that have an actual commodity tied to them. So, that's my specialty. It's not like, oh, everybody trades NQ. Why don't you trade NQ? Because I like the fact that, copper has a physical supply. And no matter what's going on politically, yes, we might get, we might get Trump tariff news and stuff that affects it, but it sort of affects it in a more single direction day, rather than, oh, we're just going to whip, and then go nowhere, or we're just going to start liquidating like there's no tomorrow, since it's a speculative index, like NQ and ES. And now all of the speculators and the zero DTs are causing so much trouble in there that once it goes into liquidation, it's like, are we going to limit down, I don't like that kind of behavior. I really don't. And I think it's purely caused by the fact that there's so many speculators. So let's just say it this way. I prefer products where the market participants that are involved as major players have to be there. Okay? And therefore that leads to smoother momentum moves, and it leads to less drama, and it leads to less psychotic movement intraday. So and you can see it in gold as well. Gold is a very speculative commodity. It's almost like a currency. And you can see it in its price action, right? It's a lot more crazy than copper, platinum, like anything that you see in other metals. So because of that, I will remain a commodities trader. If you want equities traders, throw a dot, you're going to hit one on YouTube, especially. So I'm going to stick to commodities because I don't think they're well represented, whereas we literally have thousands upon thousands, maybe even more, of NQ traders. Everybody's an NQ trader, right? Anytime somebody follows me on Twitter, it's like, oh, I trade NQ. It's like, sheep. No disrespect to all NQ traders, right? But I just think that you're going with the herd. Like, there are better products out there. And yet, you've just gone with whatever everybody else is going. It's kind of like everybody buying an iPhone. You're going on a rant. You've been warned. So, I hate iPhones, okay? I'm not really in favor of Mac products at all. Why? Because they have monopolized the market. And here's what the company does. They basically take somebody's patent, however you want to say it, and they shelve it because it's a danger to the research that they're already doing. I actually got caught as a musician back in the day in the 90s. It was like 1996, 97. I was using this amazing thing called the Logic Audio, which then got bought, and I was using it on a PC. Shows you how old I am. So once that happened, they locked it down. So you couldn't use Logic Audio on anything else apart from a Mac computer. Now, I was growing up in Belgrade, former Yugoslavia. And getting a hold of a Mac computer was just like a utopian dream because, everybody was using bootleg PCs, and nobody was, it was a country in isolation. We were under sanctions. It was a very weird time, but it was my life, it was like how it was. So by the fact that I couldn't use the software that I had been using for 3 years before then, so from 93 to 96, that kind of made me not like that particular company. And to this day, I've only owned one nanopod, and that was it. Apart from that, I don't want anything to do with them. I have a personal grudge. And I remain Windows PC, whatever. You can love it, you can hate it. However, for the financial world, even the banks are using Windows computers, right? So, everything is geared towards Windows. There are compatibility issues. And by the same token, I, have certain issues with people who are just going along with the herd and buying an iPhone because everybody else has them. So, yes, you've guessed it right. I don't have an iPhone. I have Samsung Galaxy Folds. So, this is my phone, Samsung Galaxy Fold. And I will not be buying an iPhone. And by the same token, I will not suddenly turn into an NQ trader because, I think it's a herd mentality. It's like, oh yeah, everybody trades NQ. So, if you want an NQ trader, I'm not your person. If you want to stay here for the knowledge and stuff, that's great. But I'm not going to be sitting down for the London session and going, let's look at NQ. I'm a commodities trader. In every prop firm that I worked at, there was an equities desk, there was a crude oil commodities, like energies desk, there was a precious metals desk, and there was an agros desk, right? These days, because of the online popularity of indexes that are quite speculative, most people are NQ. I would actually be a little bit worried in case that, if I run a company that has over 90% of traders that trade one product, to me, that would be a risk. But, each to their own. And who am I to talk about that, right? So there we go. Paul H. said, Coach Hoop is teaching us about the grains this week. Fascinating. Yeah. So Coach Hoop is another trader who is very flexible with the types of products that he trades. He came from the, and I know Hoop quite well because we talk a lot. So we probably talk like at least 2-3 times a week, sometimes even every day. Like, it's pretty intensive. And, he is a friend. We've known each other from back in the Squawk Radio days, and over there it was all via chat. And then we kind of reconnected when TopstepTV started. And since then, we've been talking like a lot. Now, he knows a ton about lean hogs, live cattle, wheat, like, because he came from that world. His background is that I think his grandfather owned a big farm, and then as a part of that, he actually got a piece of it, and he grew corn. So he actually knows from the beginning to the end how it all works. What is the harvest year? How do you take that to market? What is the whole process? So if you want to know more about agros, he is definitely your man. I don't think I've ever traded. I traded a little bit of lean hogs and live cattle, but usually with Hoop's help. I'm not just going, oh yeah, there's a level here. I will ask Hoop if I want to get involved in that. I will ask Hoop, hey, what do you reckon? What do I need to know before I start looking at levels? And then he would give me like an overview of the fundamentals. Just like anybody else, if I don't know something, I will go to the source. I will go to my colleagues that have a lot more experience, and I will never go, yeah, this is a great trade. I will ask Hoop about it because he is the specialist in those types of products, right? And then, yes, my setups are still going to look very similar, but I will have the overview of the fundamentals that are very, very relevant in those markets before I pop in a trade. That clarifies it. What is the better products to speak of? Well, we've got natural gas, we've got copper, we've got, what else do I trade these days? YM, again, I do trade YM every so often. We have platinum, a lot of the stuff that's much smoother and brings like amazing movement. Right, we're still struggling around this London value high, but again, let's see what happens in 4 minutes. If we're still underneath this initial balance, that will keep increasing the probability of the value acceptance, but it's not there yet. We're kind of wedged in between this like value high and initial balance low, and they're like, where do we go? Where do we go? Some sellers keep stepping in, but there is a huge fight going on right now. It's like, we're gonna go long, we're gonna go short, nobody knows. Doji. See what I mean? So it's like, buy a step in, and then somebody comes in and sells it. So yeah, we will see what outcome this gives us. For now, nothing's clear. There's literally nothing for me to do. Natural gas is starting to liven up here, so I might see if I can get along there. And again, 3 lots. This will be double positions, yes, I know, but this is what I do in my regular accounts. I will typically have at least 2 active positions going. So let's see, 2 minutes. So is it the mean reversion time? We do not know. We do not know. But it has extended its initial balance, so let's try it. And I'm only going to use the 35 tick stop because this is the outlier, not the outlier, out of hours time for natural gas. And we do have, again, a reasonable amount of tickage to move. And I actually can probably increase the size on this just to keep it like consistent. So let's do 5 on natural gas and 3 micros on copper, because copper is a bigger contract, and that will make the loss, because I'm always thinking about the loss, very similar. So 187 in one and 177 in the other. There's very little difference between those two. So let's see what happens. Let's leave it alone. I mean, I don't really want to pass this combine. So no, actually, you know what? I'm going to stick to smaller size. Because I want to keep it going, you know, I want to keep it going. Maybe I should like break a rule and then, oh no, that's right, we don't have rules. Yeah, let's sell 2 and let's just keep it at like peanuts to make sure that I can keep this combine going without having to get another one for a while. What are the natural gas trading hours? It is the same as crude oil, so it will be in Central Time, 8 a.m. Central, and then all the way to 1:30 p.m. Central. For the European hours, that's 2 p.m. all the way up to 7:30 p.m. Paul H says, looking at a larger daily time frame, I see a market in a downtrend. Price below 200 MA and 50 MA crossing 200. Yeah, the short time frame might be upward. I struggle counter trend. Yeah, so this is not really a counter trend. I would say this is more a mean reversion opportunity, because if you do look at the daily chart, it's just gone down, down, and down. However, still holding and maybe just smacking below this and then pulling back up overnight. Below the most recent low at 333.3, 3333, 3333. That's a good number. So yeah, I think there's a decent chance of this going mean reversion for London. Maybe smacking down again during NYMEX, because remember at the beginning I said that natural gas has this tendency to go one way for London and then completely the opposite way for NYMEX. That's something we need to keep in mind. Who would you look for advice about bonds trading? I think Jack would be the man at Topstep, because he is somebody who worked in bond spreads. That was his career, and he knows a ton about it, right? A ton. So, you know, Jack would be the man. Coach Paul would be also somebody who trades bonds. And, you know, he has like 30, 40 years experience, and his wife is a CTA as well. He worked on the floor. He knows a lot about everything. So if you want to know more about bonds, Coach Paul and Jack Pelzer would be 2 people that I would go to. What's the one market you have noticed that takes straight direction from the open? None! There is no such thing. Maybe if you have an outlier day where there's news, but then, usually, so here's the thing. Whenever you have market making activities, they will be most active during the first hour of trading. What is market making activities? Basically, it's short-term trading that aims to put as many transactions as possible in order to generate the tightest bid-ask spread for those of us trading. This is why you can get relatively easy fills in NASDAQ, NASDAQ ES, basically all of the products with practically zero spread, okay? That is why. When are they most active? During the first hour of trading. But they're generally active throughout the day. However, they will be more active during the beginning of trading. So when you put that into perspective, looking for some market that just doesn't follow that, it's either a market that is unregulated or it's a one-off. It's a day where it just so happens that we get some headline risk around about the same time at the open. It is not the norm. So again, here we go with looking for some unicorn thing that will make our jobs easier. There is a concept of looking for a directional market, but not straight from the open. And I mean, one would argue that equities are as directional as you get. I would also argue that copper, once it decides where it's going to go, but it takes time, right? It takes about a couple of hours typically for it to really determine the direction and gets going. But it's a utopian dream to look for something where you could just not wait, not exhibit any discipline whatsoever. You just kind of look at it and just go smack. That's me done for the day. Listen, if trading is so easy, everybody would be not multimillionaire, billionaires by now. So clearly that it's not that easy, right? It is a very difficult thing where you have to find the perfect balance between the technicals, your own mental triggers, the size that your account can handle, and the positive expectancy that you find through a very laborious process. So, comments like, oh, what in your experience is the market that just keeps going straight off the open, doesn't look back? It is an outlier day. You're not going to find that. And if you want stats on how often outlier days of that sort appear, it's about 8% in a year. True outlier days where it just kind of goes and doesn't look back. 8%. So do you want to trade with an 8% frequency of occurrence for the entire year? So let's grab a calculator here. Let's see. So let's say that there's 220 working days in a year. And if something only occurs 8%, if I'm doing this right, you're only going to be looking at your setup 17 times in the year. Don't know about you, mate, but I want events that happen every single day. And that means, actually developing some skills to support that. So no, there's no such product. If you see a product like that, just know that that's not normal. That's all I'm going to say. Do you have any thoughts on holiday trading like Good Friday? Yes, I'm going to be taking it off. Taking a day off. I'm going to have a holiday. I'm not going to be trading on Good Friday. I'm going to be here on Monday, which is technically bank holiday in the UK, but I'm not going to be trading. I'm going to be using that opportunity to run a class for us so we can talk about process. We can maybe talk about what each of my components, I've done this before actually, if you've been here for any length of time, to basically explain how I use the open versus the value area, why I have it on my chart, why do I have all of these, lines on the chart, what do they mean? So I basically turned the whole Euro trade into a class where we kind of learn stuff for people who want to learn. So yeah, but I'm not doing any active trading on those days because volume is light, and even if we get some sort of an outlier day that kind of keeps going, it's still going to be a bit laborious. Now, I am planning to take May bank holiday off because last year I totally forgot about it. And again, it was a very lackluster day. So I'm actually probably going to take, bank holiday 5th of May off Eurotrade. So I'm not gonna be here, but they might find somebody to replace me for that day. Just kind of, we're still kind of deciding whether we should find a replacement, because if the markets are not tradable, then people are gonna be sitting here watching paint dry, right? We don't really want that. Paul, how do I work with the counter trends? I look at the initial balance extensions as a potential for giving me a directional clue. So right now, natural gas is trying to extend the initial balance higher. And in fact, it's kind of succeeding and going above this Globex VWAP here. So that kind of gives me more confidence that we are truly seeing the mean reversion, right? It doesn't mean that it's going to happen 100% because it can fail the auction and just keep bleeding down. But, usually when they start to extend above VWAP and above initial balance, that tends to be like a stronger indication that we might have what I call a sustained auction above initial balance. And that opens up the possibility to at least test, GEX1, but more often than not, to actually have a full rotation back to the nearest relevant active session value area edge. So in this case, that would be London value for this session. Now, it's quite feasible that we have another value low from NYMEX that is closer. Yeah, so it's at 338.2 on natural gas. And that will mean if we start to see the market, or let's say that this is very slow and we get to like half an hour before NYMEX and we're still stuck in this range, we didn't kind of push higher, that would be more conducive to me taking the trade off and just waiting for another hour and then basing the rest of my decisions on whatever NYMEX does. But for now, as it stands, initial balance for London is extended upside. We are trying to show some strength above VWAP. Volume at this time of day for natural gas is a little bit sketchy, but it can still bring pretty decent moves. However, keep in mind that I said the open of NYMEX frequently reverses whatever London has done, and then it goes into an even bigger trade. So in effect, I'm kind of using London to give me an idea what NYMEX is going to do. Does that make sense? If you have an assumption of something that you've seen play out so many times, you can then use it as a strategy. And for me, time of day is a very important thing. GEX levels for gold. Okay, I haven't done them because, like I said, it's not really my attention. My attention is elsewhere these days. But yeah, I'm going to bring you the levels for gold. And to keep this a little bit quicker, I am going to show you the trading view chart for gold. So here it is. And I'm going to call these out. Then you can maybe use them. So we have put support from 0 DTEs right here at 32.40. We do have a core resistance at 32.50. That to me spells that we might be stuck in this area if we don't pick up speed fairly frequently. So right off the bat, that doesn't look that great. You don't want to have two opposing levels so close together. Then you have GEX2 at 32.25. That's a pretty strong level. Typically, GEX 1, 2, and 3 tend to be very strong and can be supportive, but can also be accelerators. Then right underneath there, you have GEX3 at 32.20, GEX1 at 3200. Then to the upside, you have a whole bunch of stuff up here. Projected volatility for today is very close to the core resistance and a gamma wall at 32.70. So that would be kind of the final stopping point for me for today. If you're looking for shorts, really we need to pick up speed below VWAP And then your first sort of target intraday would be the GEX2 level, where I would expect a little bit more speed bumps to happen. So those are the major points. Projected volatility to the downside is currently at 31.85. Now, projected volatility is kind of similar to my ADRs and ASRs, except I use a different measure. So sometimes they line up nearly like exactly. Other times they might have a little bit of a difference in them, but it's still, one way to see where the exhaustion zone might actually happen. So yeah, so hopefully that helps. You can default to those later on, but those are your gold levels. So just to keep everything, a little bit quicker, rather than me changing to gold and then drawing everything that I haven't prepared for today on another platform. So there you go. Those are your levels. Right, copper still flirting with the London value high. Not much to see there. Paul H, it's not just natural gas, but let's say crude oil and RBOB do that a lot as well. Metals, copper not so much. Copper is not really a bi-directional product where, in the same day, you typically won't have opportunities on both sides for big trend days, where on natural gas, I always feel I do one swing for London and then I do another swing for the NYMEX session. So it's like, it's great. Marjorie says there is something wrong with my microphone. Is that true? That I'm going in and out, apparently. I was not aware. Yeah, so Marjorie, I think that would probably be your connection, maybe. And I can't really help that. We are trying to stream in HD. So, if your connection is not, broadband with whatever, then that's not going to be something that I can sort out. I would like to. I would really like to, but, Bruno says he's sending me my FAQs, frequently asked questions. What is initial balance? Let's shoot through them. First hour of trading for any active session. What are your DMI parameters? DMI parameters are pretty quick. So here they are. DI length 5, ADX smoothing 10. Probably less than some other people because I want it as similar to volume as possible. So even though volume and price have a big correlation between them, so I want that to be reflected as quickly as possible. I'll be honest, I don't really like DMI is just there because Robert Cooney, one of our coaches, we sometimes work together, and he uses it. So I want to see what he sees. How do you get your DOM to show up like that? You pay for level 2 data in your billing section, and then it's going to show up. So it has nothing to do with the settings. It has to do with the paid for service. So hopefully we have answered those. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I missed copper entry. You're long. No, I am short, actually. Why would I be long when we're sitting below put support and below initial balance and below VWAP and knocking on the doors of London value high and keep testing it, So now we just need a breakdown of that. We'll see whether it happens or not. But I'm going to hang here for another 15 minutes or so, maybe 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. New guy here, what is a failed auction? Failed auction is when you have the first hour of trading, which is defined as the initial balance. Then, after the initial balance is over, so after the first hour of trading, the market participants push the price outside of it, but then it goes nowhere and it goes back to the first hour of trading range, aka the initial balance, and closes one 30-minute time frame, so one 30-minute candle back inside it. That is considered a failed auction in the market profile concept. And that means that statistically, you then have a high chance of that market rotating all the way through to the first hour of the initial balance, wherever that is. So we deem the auction a failure if it doesn't hold basically outside of that first hour range, if that makes sense. It's pretty systematic. And I mean, obviously, guys, with the audio issues, sometimes it is YouTube as well, so you might want to reload the page and then see if that fixes it. But yeah. All right, we're a bit low on the likes. What's going on there? If you like the stuff that I'm yapping on about, I mean, you know, I would appreciate it if you at least click the like button, right? It's free. It's doesn't cost anything. And that's the way to kind of show it. Have a look at the like button as if you're doing applause if you were at a concert. So imagine this: you're sitting at a concert and they finish a song, and whoever's in the audience, they're just like silently, blankly staring at the musician, and they were like, you know, really into it. To it. They finish the performance, they're expecting a standing ovation, and there's just dead silence. That's kind of how we feel when we're like, you know, we think we're adding a lot of value, we're explaining concepts and stuff, and you look at the likes and it's like, you know, 10 likes, and it's like there's like 500 people watching. It's like, so, you know, let's not be rude. Let's show the appreciation. Like I said, it's free. It's like an applause to show your appreciation. And remember, it's the button below the video, not the one in the chat. I know I can see that a whole bunch of people are like pressing that one. That one doesn't actually do anything for the engagement. It's the one below the actual video. So let's go and press that one. And thank you. Trading Nickel says, I was looking at this little representation of likes of 42. I refreshed it and now it's 80, sometimes YT. Yeah, it doesn't live update, so it has to like, you know, you have to keep refreshing it. Sometimes when I'm watching the main broadcast, they're like, oh, what is going on? We're on at like nothing. And then I know they refresh it and suddenly it goes back up to 1,000, especially if Mo is on. He's very good at calling for likes. So, yeah. D doesn't like noise. It's because we're in profitable trades. What? Yeah, I don't like noise. I used to like noise when I was a musician. I simply don't like noise because I'm noise sensitive these days. Otherwise, I used to be like a rock and pop musician. So I was very noisy. I loved it. Chat emojis were probably getting hit by people who already hit the like. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Bruno says, don't forget Trustpilot, 5-star. But that one takes a little bit more effort, right? You actually have to write something. This one, you don't have to write anything. You just click a button and you're done. Yeah. All right, so we're still knocking on the London value high in copper. Let's see if it breaks it. This is like 1, 2. This is third attempt. So what do we need? We need this to actually close below the London value. And we need someone to actually go, yeah, we're breaking down. Let's go. Let's go. Until that happens, it's just going to be kind of like, are we going? Are we going? It's kind of like putting your toe in the water. You know, is it too cold? Is it cold? No, we need to jump in and go. If that doesn't happen, then obviously the second hypo value reversal will be in play. But I would be waiting for a failed auction long at that point, which means we need to crawl back over a put support to the other side. Otherwise, there's no setup here. Again, everything's kind of wedged in this like weird put support, London value high, like two very strong levels, and they're like, which way are we going? Which way? Nobody knows. So we are building volume here, which is not that great, but you know, looking at the structure, what could this be from a supply and demand point of view? Drop a base, drop. But this drop really needs to pick up speed, man. Come on. Come on. Do you want a short? Yeah, Creamfield. So yeah, I was in the VIP tent for Head Candy back in, oh dear Lord, it was a long time ago. What year was it? 2012, I think it was, or something. I was still running parallel careers. Like I was trading, but that was like a year before I actually went into in-office trading. You can find me playing sax in the VIP tent at Creamfields. It was a Head Candy VIP tent back then. So yeah, it was fun. But I'm going to tell you a funny story. Our sound engineer got absolutely screwed on pills. It's like the music industry, eh? And he kept turning down everything because I don't know whether he got noise sensitive or whether he was like so out of it. He was definitely out of it though. So he probably, I don't know, did a couple or something. And we're like in the middle of like playing and pumping and, you know, everything. And suddenly I hear the background music, just, it wasn't background music, it was the main thing. Like it was Phil Faversham and he was like trying to play his set and I was doing ad-libs on top of it. And suddenly I hear the volume completely go from the track. So I turn around and the dude is like sweating. It's like messy. He's like, no, I just want to hear the sax, you know? I just want to hear you play. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I know. But like, do the other people actually want to hear songs as well? And we kept trying to get him to put the volume up and he just wouldn't do it. So it all went a little bit pear-shaped. It was quite a funny experience. But then at some point, the management came in and actually got him away. Because he was just tripping balls, man. It was like hilarious. Yeah. So, UK festivals. Anyways, funny story, right? Come on, do something. This is a quieter day. I'm gonna say I think we might have come off the insane volatility, at least for now. Because the candles are smaller, you know, ATR, I'm just looking at copper is like 24 points. They were like 49, 50, 60, just like not too long ago. It was last week. So that's changed. Doesn't mean that we're still not going to have like smooth movement. No, we're still going to have movement. It's just not, it might not be like getting, you know, 600 ticks on copper in the space of 3 hours. It might be back to like, maybe 100, you know. Trading Nichols says, so here's a surprising resource. Windy has gotten an intelligence massive upgrade. I've been asking Windy about Topstep account features and the answers have been just amazing. Okay, awesome. Well, Trading Nichols, thank you for that. I know that many people are like, oh, Windy doesn't do anything, but maybe this is a change. You know, they are, you know, Topstep is really evolving and Topstep is trying to make the experience better for everybody. So, you know, it's only logical that, like, I don't know how Windy behaves, but maybe it takes, like, from what I know about chatbots, it takes about 10,000 conversations for the intelligence to really for the model to be trained enough to start giving really good conversations. And you can't really input that. It has to be like customer input. So it's a bit of a painful process to get there. But once it's there, it sort of learns what the responses really are. Bruno is saying that Windy can give info, but it cannot fix issues, obviously, because you need a human for that. So we're not there yet. Yes, we have heard about Gann and Jenkins. Jensen, not Jessen. I actually had to do a Jensen risk calculation when I did my IAD back in the day. Would it surprise you that the Series 3 qualification is not my first one? So yes, I have heard of all of them, and I am very familiar with all of their concepts, actually. Even had to do calculations. Yeah, so there's Wyckoff. You missed Wyckoff. He's also cycles and time. And market structure. Market structure, yeah. Sandy is saying D is a great musician. Thank you, Sandy. I do apologize for absolutely annoying the hell out of you while I was growing up. Because I know that must have been very difficult. Yeah. Is that why you moved out so early? I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Yeah. Oh, so Trady Nichols says, here's more shock for you then. I was having issues with checking out in the new dashboard and Wendy's advice got me through. Amazing. Yeah. So yeah, it seems like they've kicked it up a notch with Wendy. That's awesome. Sandy's saying, no, not at all. Yeah, it's funny. Right, this value high still, yeah. Come on, bring down. Because we've got a few minutes before I finish the stream, but we are almost at time, so we didn't get the move that we wanted. I mean, it might still happen, right? So I'm going to stay true to my intention to only trade this during the Euro trade. Let's see how long that takes us. No, Sandy doesn't trade. Bruno is asking me. She doesn't trade. She is very artistic. She runs her own crocheting business. She's an amazing painter. And she's actually probably more talented than I am in music. But she's more like arts and crafts, but also a talented musician. Like, she's one of those annoying people that is good at everything. But I love her to bits. It's just the two of us. She's my older sister. And many people say that we look alike. So she doesn't trade, but she likes listening and she gets the gist of it. But I think she's a little bit too much on the artistic side, maybe to be okay with the uncertainty that trading brings, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people are like 70% artistic or 70% analytical, right? One of the differences that I see in myself is that I'm kind of dead in the middle. Like, yes, I was artistic, but everything I did had to be like methodical. It's almost like OCD over the certain processes. So yeah. Hi, can you show us how to calculate 2% over price limit on the chart? I'm new and received an email that I violated this 2%. Okay, so the first step would be to look at the CME website to find out what the actual price limits are. So you go to price limits, so you click there, okay? Now, the next thing, you need to find an equity index, and you need to find your contract. Now, just spitballing here, is it going to be NQ? But let's have a look at NQ. So during regular trading hours, there is only a limit down. So there's no limit up. That's only in the overnight. So it's during this session. But the limit down is only active during RTH, during regular trading hours. So if you're trading it, basically this is the number you want to keep in mind as the limit down. So right now, 17619.25 is 7%. So you need to find that on your chart and then go 2% up from that point, okay? That would probably be the easiest way to do it. So let's go to NQ and let's go finding that number. So coordinates, what did they say? The number is 17619.25. So that's where it is today. And then you have these forecasting and measurement tools, okay? Go to price range, Actually, I don't know whether you saw that, so let me just check. Let me remove myself and do that again. So go to Forecasting and Measurement Tools, Price Range. Click on that, and then you will be able to measure 2% ballpark from this point. So 2% today would be around 17,965 to be safe, right? So that would be, if you trade at that point, you will be in violation of the 2% of limit down, okay? So it is a measure that as a futures trader, you need to know at times of high volatility. We had this during COVID. You know, if you don't know about this, you're not being serious enough about trading. And you need to rectify that like ASAP, right? You really need to know these things because this is like how the markets operate. You know, it's not us. So we have Futures of Bright on Discord, who's one of our moderators. He posts that every day on Discord. And these are the price limits at the moment, right? So they will be calculating this every day. This says something different, slightly. 19881. Why does he have 19881? Let me see. Why does CME have another thing? Oh yeah, no, 17. Yeah. No, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so check Discord, and again, perfect time for me to give you the link to Discord, isn't it? Yeah, so if you are looking for more support and to find things like what is the 5% today when I will be in breach of the rule, 7% rule, go to Discord and you will see all of those lovely posts there. But yeah, so let's carry on. Oh yeah, so Bruno says, because I took the 2% from the 7% down, Andrew did minus 5% from settlement. Yeah, that's right. So settlement from the previous day is the measure. And on NQ, we're not going to have settlement yet because JD is not awake, so I would have to work. You know what? Just have a look at Discord. You know, if you're an equities trader, go into Discord. We do post about this pretty frequently, and we would need to. Somebody's saying, "Oh, can we do the quotes?" Okay. Doesn't tell you what the limit is, but what? Okay, so quotes. Let's try and find the quotes like Trading Nichols is telling us. Here we go, quotes. Where do we put quotes? Why does that look like that? Here we go. So if, let me put this somewhere where everybody can see it. Okay. So here we go. So if you put quotes, it's going to tell you what the change is on the day. So that is probably the easiest way to do it. Okay. So just to have quotes at all times, and then once this starts to dip to minus 5%, you'll know not to trade. So you don't have to take a look at the CME price limits or anything, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, probably the easiest way. Like I said, I'm not a core equities trader. So yeah, if you want to find this in Discord, what Futures of Bright posts, aka Andrew, you go to Discord lobby and then to pinned messages, okay? So Discord lobby, and then go into pinned messages. I'm gonna shut down the the copper trade, because that is actually going above the put support and trying to accept the failed auction, to accept initial balance. London value high so far is reactive, and this would call for another trade in the opposite direction though. So let's see if that happens, but we are coming to the end of the stream, unfortunately, so that will be it. I'm going to kill this as well. So today we are working with minus 54. I'll take that. That's a decent risk management. Nowhere near my minus 1 hour, right? So yeah, let's see if we can keep this going and to try and only do trades during the euro trade. Let's see how long that takes us. It's going to be my little challenge. If you are in the combine, there's a very good point for EG. You don't have to worry about limits because no one cares. Obviously, if they hit limit down and you get stuck, clearly that's going to be a problem. And you will be wondering what happened, but you won't break any rules. However, if you're in an XFA or in a live account, as soon as it gets to 5%, and it's on equities, you need to stop trading equities, right? You can still trade other things, like let's say if copper is nowhere near its limits, you can trade copper. It's not like, oh, equities have hit 5%. We can't trade anything. I will again remind you there are other products out there. Anyways, guys, I'm going to finish it up for today. I will see you again tomorrow for the Neuro Wednesdays, when it's going to be a little bit different because I am going to be using Streamlabs when Jerome is here to try and sort out those audio issues, and he's got something awesome prepared for you tomorrow. So it's going to be a real class. So let's see what happens. And then tomorrow I am also going to join Jerome on Fast Markets for a time. I think I'm going to be on at 10 a.m. Central. That's 3 p.m. My time. And then I'm also going to do Top Quiz later in the day. I've never done a Top Quiz. So be prepared for D to suck on Top Quiz. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you derived value from the early exits and using orientation points to run your trades. Join me again tomorrow, like I said. And in the meantime, have a great rest of your day. This is the Euro Trade. I'm Marcus Stoker D, and I will see you very soon. Take care.